Hey everyone, welcome to Pulse BI, where we turn raw data into clear, actionable insights. This is the first video on the channel, and we're going to kick things off with one of the most important roles in any finance or FP&A team's toolkit, the profit and loss report. Whether you're in corporate finance, accounting, or just learning BI tools, I'm going to walk you through how to build a dynamic P&L that updates in real time, uses DAX for custom metrics, and brings clarity to your numbers. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Right now we're in our Power BI desktop. I'm going to go over to the model view to kind of show you how my semantic model is set up. So you see we have our fact table, we have a little star schema with our different dimension tables. The most important one for these or for this tutorial is going to be your accounts table and your calendar table, and of course your fact table. So I'm just going to get into how this account table is set up. So our account table is going to be linked to our fact table based on the account number. But in order to set up this P&L properly, you're going to have your hierarchy set up within your accounts table. So here you can see we have our category, our subcategory, our P&L level, our P&L sub-level, and our roll-up. So this is kind of how we're going to map everything from net sales, cost of sales, to A&P and G&A. So a couple of these different columns help with the sorting of that so that they're showing up in the right order rather than, I think by default, it'll be alphabetical. But you're going to want to set it up so that all the accounts that you want captured in your P&L are in this table and they're mapped properly to net sales, cost of sales, and then up higher to gross profit, A&P, and G&A. In our calendar table, pretty straightforward, pretty simple calendar table. It's linked to our fact table via date, and it's got our month, our fiscal year, and our fiscal month number, which is most important for this one, and our quarter. So there's a ton of tutorials on how to build a calendar table in Power BI. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just know that those are the columns that we're going to be using for this. So hopefully yours is set up similarly. And then this is the fact table that I'm using. So you'll see it's got our cost center, account, product. Specifically for this, what we need obviously is our amount, but then we need our year scenario. So yours might just be a fiscal year that you're looking at. This tutorial is going to show you how to compare against budget in prior years, but you're going to want some sort of distinct column that has your year scenarios in it. So again, not going to go too deep into this, but you're going to want something that has your different years and scenarios in it. So the goal of this video is to show you how to create a P&L that looks like this. So it's completely dynamic. Your users will be able to select their month, the different scenarios that they want to compare in this P&L, and then even the time period, so they can flip between month to date, year to date, quarter to date, and full year. So by the end of this video, I'm hoping you're able to recreate a P&L that looks something like this. So let's start blank here. So to start with, you're going to want to have an amount metric. So go ahead and create your amount metric. It could be something as simple as a sum of your amount. This one is a little bit more complex because the data that comes in, the expense categories are coming through as negative. The net sales and revenue categories are coming in as positive. In our P&L, we want to display the expenses as positives, but when they're shown aggregated into a gross profit or contribution margin, they should act as negatives. So that's what this calculation is doing. It's essentially saying if the P&L level or subcategory are these, then use this other measure. If not, use the normal measure. So that's kind of why it's a little more complex. Your data model might be set up differently where you can use a simpler formula, but you're going to want some sort of sum of your amount field here. And now to kind of get into how to build this dynamically. So I mentioned earlier that you're going to want a year scenario. Yours might just be a year, whatever, but you're going to want some sort of distinct column here that we can create these floating tables off of. So I'm going to go into the modeling tab. I'm going to create a new table here. And we're just going to call it P&L Scenario 1 Selection. And it's a pretty simple formula. It's just going to be a distinct year scenario. So go ahead and hit enter. It should create a table over here. There we go. And then when I drop this in, you'll see that these are the scenarios that are in my data model. So I have a couple different budget and forecast scenarios, and then I have a couple actual scenarios. So go ahead and remove. So we're going to build this for 3 separate scenarios. I'm just going to go ahead and relabel this P&L Scenario 1. And I'm just going to repeat this process 2 more times. So I'm going to have the P&L Selection 2, P&L Selection 3. So just go back to the Modeling tab. Go ahead and create these other 2. Distinct year scenarios. There's number 2. Go ahead and create this. Go ahead and relabel this P&L Scenario 2. And then we're going to do one more here. P&L Scenario 3 Selection. Okay, so now that those are created, we can start to get into this. So P&L Scenario 3. Okay, and then the other thing that we're going to create here, a new table, is just going to be a floating table that has our month to date, quarter to date, year to date, or whatever time frame you want to compare. So I'm just going to go back to our modeling tab, home, enter data. So we're going to just call this time period. Time period. We'll go month to date, year to date, quarter to date, and then we'll do a full year. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this time selection. Go ahead and load that. So you don't need to create any relationships here. I mean, your fact table needs to be related to your accounts and calendar table, but for these floating tables, you don't need to create any relation. They're simply going to be used for the measures. Okay, so our time selection is showing up. Let's drop our time period on here so you see those different time periods. Okay, so now we can go ahead and get into these dynamic measures that are going to help drive this P&L. So I'm going to cheat here a little bit and copy it from my completed P&L, but let's go ahead and copy and paste this in here. So I'm going to do a new measure, and then I'll copy and paste this in here. So kind of walk you through what this is doing. So what did I name this? P&L Scenario 1. So what this is doing is it's just going to take a look at different selections that you've made via slicers. So this first one is going to look at the scenario you selected for P&L Scenario 1. Then it's going to look at your selected month, the quarter that it's associated with that month, and then the time period that you select. So based on the time period you select, it's going to filter your calendar table accordingly. So for month to date, right, we're just going to look at the selected month. So if you selected January, so this data model is set up for an April to March fiscal year. So if you selected January, it's going to look at month 10 for your month to date here. Year to date, it's just going to be anything that's greater or equal to your first month and less than or equal to your selected month. So in this example, 1 to 10. And then your quarter to date, it's going to look at any month that's in that quarter. So January would be Q4. So it's going to look at Q4, anything that's greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 10, right? But because the calendar quarter is 4, it's only going to look at 10 for this specific one because there's no other months before 10 in quarter 4. And then full year is just going to ignore any calendar selection. So a full year could be used to look at what your full year budget numbers are, your full year forecast numbers are, and so on. So that's just going to ignore any filters that you have on your calendar. So again, we're just going to rinse and repeat this for the 2 other scenarios. So hopefully you've gotten a good look at how this calculation is set up. So I'm just going to go ahead and Control C here, and then I'll do a new measure. Copy and paste this, and then I'm just going to change this to 2. Change this to 2. Did I rename these? Oh. 2. Okay. That should work now, and then I'll do one more. Or scenario 3 here. Change 3. 3. Okay, so now we have these all set up. I'm actually going to go into the model view and move these to the metrics table. So there, now they're showing up in the metrics table. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and create some variance calculations. So let's go ahead and do variance 1 versus 2. So I just copied and pasted it in here for my other model, but it's very similar to the original amount setup in that we're going to switch the calculation based on what level of the P&L we're looking at. So the reason we do this is because if there's a positive, or if, let's say, an expense account is greater than your budget account, that variance with a normal calculation, just that first one, would show it as a positive variance. But if your expenses are greater than your budget, it should be a negative variance. So that's essentially what this calculation is doing, is just showing if we're looking at expense account, multiply it by -1. Otherwise, use the original calculation. So I'm going to go ahead and enter. Now it's in my accounts table again. And then I'm going to go do the same thing with the scenario 1 versus 3. It's all looking good. Go ahead and enter. And then the last part here is I'm going to create some percentage changes. So let's do the percentage changes. You don't have to do anything fancy here because it's going to be looking at your variances anyways, the variance calculations we just created. So let's do percentage change 1 versus 2, and then we'll do our percentage change 1 versus 3. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to the model view to move these back to our metrics table. go ahead and format these percentages. Instead of general, let's go percentage. Okay, and then I just want one decimal place here. And then these, we can just go ahead and format as decimal numbers, but we're going to hide the decimal places just to make it a little more clean here. Okay. So now that that's done, so the visual that I like to use for these is actually a third-party visual. You can use the regular matrix, but there's some settings in the third-party visual that I'll get into that the native matrix table does not offer. So this is a free visual that you can get from the Microsoft Store. So I'll just navigate to that for you here. So it's just called Profit Base Financial Reporting Matrix. So you can go ahead and click on that. They do have some premium features that are really nice. I think they do offer some sort of free trial for it. So definitely worth checking out. And yeah, you could just go ahead and add it to your Power BI desktop. It's already there for me, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that on the screen. So I'll start with this to it's full screen right now, or just about full screen. So in my rows here, I'm just going to go ahead and add my account hierarchy. So I'm going to go category, subcategory, P&L level, P&L sub-level, and roll up. So, looks like it. And then I don't need to add anything to columns. I'm just going to add in my metrics as values. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll go variance versus 1, or variance versus 2, percentage change versus 2, variance versus 3, percentage change versus 3. So you'll see it showing up as blank because these metrics are going to require some slicer selections. So just to start, I'm going to make sure this is filtered to contribution margin, which is really what our P&L needs to display. And then I'm going to go ahead on the page level filters. I'm going to throw in our P&L scenarios. So I'll make these single selection. They should all be single selection. So our first scenario is just going to be our current fiscal year actuals. And then P&L scenario 2, just make that single selection, and we'll make this the budget. And then P&L scenario 3, we will make a prior year. So make that single selection, and let's make it our F24 actual. And then you see it's still showing up as blank because we don't have a time selection selected yet. So time period, I'm going to go ahead and do month to date. And I'll also make this a require single selection. So let's go month to date. And then in our calendar, I'm just going to go ahead and select a month. So we'll bring in a month, and let's just stick with January. So there we go. Okay, so here you can see, let me hide this little panel again. I don't think you guys can see the panel, but you can see we have our gross profit, our A&P, and our G&A. These number formats are not looking good though. So this visual actually offers some cool features that allow you to customize each individual column. So I'm just going to go ahead in this first P&L scenario. I'm going to do a format string. I'll just do custom here, and then it's going to be number 0, comma, and then number 0, close parenthesis, comma. your number? Oh, I'm on. I'm on scenario 2. My apologies there. But I'm just going to copy and paste that format across all of our different number categories. So number 3. Then I want in our variance as well. Okay, so we've gone through and formatted all of our numbers here. Okay, sorry about that. My computer died, but okay, so we have our numbers formatted, and so now for the P&L, I like to have everything expand upwards rather than the default downwards here. So I'm going to go into this row expansion, and I'm just going to select this upwards expansion. So you see it flipped, and now when we expand gross profit, let's see here, expand gross profit, you'll see our net sales, cost of sales, and so on. So that can be done over here in this row expansion. And then the grid, I think I'm going to change this grid color to just be black here. I think that's what I want. Yeah. Cool. And then these headers, I'm actually just going to go ahead and make these row headers white. I don't want to see them because we're going to make these headers dynamic. So, column headers, I mean. Let's see, font color, make that white, and now they disappear. Cool. So the reason I do that is because we're going to have dynamic headers. So when you change the scenario, it'll update to show what scenario you're looking at. There's not a way to dynamically rename these measures here, so that's why we're going to make the dynamic headers using buttons in Power BI. So I'm just going to go through and do a little bit more formatting here. So in the profit-based visual, you can click on the ellipses and you get this edit option. And I apologize, I'm not sure which of these are premium features and which aren't. But I'm just going to go ahead and update these row styles. So I'm going to make the style a subtotal, which should bold it. And then I'm going to make it a currency format. Dollar number. And I'll just go ahead and copy that. So we'll make the cost of sales the same, subtotal. So we're just going to make all these the same format. Oh, I added a row. Did not mean to do that. Just makes it a little cleaner when you have it expanded. And then the last one here. I keep doing that. Sorry about that. Update row style. Make it a subtotal. Okay, so that's all formatted. So now you go back to the visual, and as you expand, you'll see the lower levels aren't bolded like that. So the other thing here too is the way my accounts table is set up is some of the levels of the hierarchy repeat down. So there's another cool feature in this matrix that allows you to hide the duplicate. So I'm going to just hide the children matching. So now you see when I expand net sales, it's actually going to go down to my, here I'll show, my roll-up level rather than sub-level, because P&L level and P&L sub-level for net sales match, but cost of sales, they don't match. So I have cost of sales direct, and then I have cost of sales indirect. and cost of sales indirect are the only ones that have the a roll up that doesn't match the P&L sub level. So just another cool feature that I find useful for this P&L. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse these again. Okay, so I didn't want to spend too much time on the formatting piece because the idea behind this video is just to be able to create the measures to create the dynamic P&L. But this is how it looks formatted. I'll walk through a couple of these different measures. So this one, I just created different measures for these different headings here. So the P&L header is just going to look, it's just going to say profit and loss statement dash whatever month you've selected and whatever time period you've selected. So as I change this time period to be year to date, you'll see that dynamically change to year to date. And then same thing with these headers. They're just going to be these scenario 1 selections. So it's just a max over that selection. It's just going to basically populate whatever you're showing in that scenario 2, scenario 1, whatever. This one's scenario 2. So as I change this to be F25 budget, you'll see those dynamically change. And so it's a very kind of slick way to be able to dynamically change specifically these column headers, because you can't do that in the visual itself. So that's why we hid the what's it called, the column headers, so that we could create these dynamic titles. So that's really it. I've gone through and formatted these with different subtotal lines and things like that. And if you think that would be useful to create a video for, feel free to comment below. But yeah, hope this helps. Hope this is something unique that you haven't seen on YouTube before. I have not, so that's why I created the video. But yeah, hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if it helped you. And any and all feedback is welcome. So look forward to hearing from you guys. And yeah, have a good one.